All right, so I just stepped down off the southern end of our deck area. Rosie's gonna walk by and say hi. This is the compost area. All three of these bins are currently cooking. I'll go into more of that later. I'm planning on doing a whole video just on composting in a suburban backyard as opposed to out in someplace where you have space. Anyway, so a lot of bare dirt here. This will be changing soon. We have these lovely garden beds. I purchased these from metalgardenbeds.com. They have galvanized silver and brown, and I love them. These smaller beds against the deck are roughly 20 inches by about 40 inches long per section. And I'll show you here in a second what we have. But this is the shade bed. I've got this lovely, up here, Mabel the maple. And she provides shade on this end of the deck all summer long, and it's wonderful and cool and breezy down here, but this space doesn't get much sun. So what we have here are some onions. You'll see marigolds everywhere in my garden. I will be doing another video on the magical marigold, but we recently just planted, in fact, just in the last few days, lettuces and spinach in this bed. Now, we are in August. It is still quite warm here. We've got weather expected this week in the low to mid 90s a few days, and it's consistently in the upper 80s, and the sunlight is quite intense. Anyway, so walking into the garden, we're headed in the western direction. It's early morning, like I said, and so there's not a lot of sun back here at this time of day. Starting at about 11 o'clock, this actually earlier, the sun will start moving across, and then by noontime we are in full sun in this backyard area. Anyway, so here are more of these beds. These beds are still actually under construction. As you can see, we kind of ran out of our planting soil, and we'll be getting some more to finish that last one. This little area here is permanently going to be a asparagus bed, but in the meantime, before we plant later this fall, I will be putting some snow pea or snap peas and radishes and some short-term plants in here for the winter or for my fall garden. I have herbs here. We've got basil, rosemary, lavender, and then again our lovely marigolds here. And then I've got chives planted just recently in the back. Those will be coming up shortly. All right, and so swinging around to the west, we're calling this bed is lovingly called the cornfield. It is 7.5 feet by 7.5 feet. I will say that if you are physically challenged, such as I am, you might not want a bed quite this large. Half of this, I would have been better off with 2 rectangles rather than a big square, if that makes sense. I could have put a space in between them and been able to reach the center just a little bit better. This is potatoes right here. Those are almost ready, and we'll be doing a video on harvesting those. And then in this end of this bed, I've just planted, we've got, I'm going to show with my finger here, sorry. In this, you'll see this trench here. In the bottom of this trench, I have some russet potatoes. And then in the same space on this side, I have some Yukon Gold. Later on, I'll talk about the differences and why they're planted the way they're planted. Just put in some pole beans over here. And as you can see, we have a cornfield. It is a short maturity sweet corn. It's got a 63-day expected growth period. And there's 2 batches here. As you can see, we've got quite a difference between the left and the right on the screen. They were planted a week apart, but these should be ripening up and ready for harvest around mid-September. We're kind of racing the frost. You'll notice a lot of my garden we're racing the frost on getting things ripe, just because of how late we had to start with the whole process. And I will again talk about that in another video in depth about how all of this was set up. All right, so we've got more marigolds over here. This end of the bed has a couple of Roma tomato plants that I did not do any pruning on or any thinning of the fruit, and they are just going crazy. Pulled a couple off of this plant already. This is an heirloom variety. It's called Supremo. It is a determinate tomato, meaning it will grow, produce, and then the plant will die off all in one fell swoop, basically, though I'm going to have probably more than one crop harvested, because you can see on the top here there's some more little potatoes or tomatoes starting to come in, so we'll probably have a second harvest on this one here pretty soon. This is Athena cantaloupe, or Athena melon, which is the main cantaloupe variety that's actually grown in the United States for sale at the supermarket. I found that out after I got the seeds. It's actually an heirloom variety, but it is, as you can see, I've got one little baby there that's just about ready. We had hail the last couple of nights, and we've got a little damage. When I get around to the other side of this bed, I'll show you the other fruits. There's several more on this plant that are getting ready to they're going to be, we'll hopefully get them before the frost. Anyway, more pole beans here. I do use the less expensive tomato cages to support my beans. We've got basil, we've got onions. All of these plants, the basil, the onions, the marigolds, are all what I like to call guard plants to protect and encourage the rest of the plants to grow. A little bit of planning on my part would have made these beans a little more productive, but these are all bush beans along here that were planted earlier in the spring, but they're shaded out by everything else, and so they're not thriving as well as they could. This is cucumber here. Let's see if I have any babies I can show you. Let's see. Again, we got some hail damage, so I picked, yep, there's one. Okay, see? This one will be ready to pick in a few more days. And there's quite a few more that are forming on the other side of the plant. All right, and then the zucchinis. We've got gray zucchini, which is actually seeds that I've had for quite a long time, like more than 5 years, that I acquired back in Arizona. At the beginning of this spring, with everybody starting to garden, I had a hard time finding seeds, new seeds that are acclimated to Colorado, and so I just planted my gray zucchini, and this plant here has been producing like crazy. I harvested yesterday, but you can see there's some new babies coming in here. I don't know if you can see them or not. There we go, right there. There's 3 or 4 that are forming, and then the plant behind it is the same variety, but all it's putting out is male flowers. So I haven't had a lot of fruit. I've had one fruit on that probably about a month ago, and nothing since. So its days are limited in its garden space, because it's just sucking up water and nutrients out of the soil and shading out everything else. All right, some more tomatoes here. We've got 3 Brandywine tomatoes, which is another heirloom variety. These are a large slicing tomato. And these are going to be racing to the frost as well. And again, some damage and stuff that we've had, but we've got tomatoes on both, actually on all 3 plants now. More, same basil, marigold, and onion. And I'm going to talk about companion planting in another video as well. So this is the annual bed. If I turn around here, we're calling this bed the wedding cake. These are sunflowers. They are a dwarf sunflower, and they are almost to the point of forming buds at the top for the fall. And then we have comfrey. This is a Russian comfrey, and again, there's some hail damage on it right there. Russian comfrey, which does not, its seeds are infertile. So it's propagated by a rhizome, by the root. All right, we've got a variety of different flowers. Some sad little peppers that they're producing. There's a pepper somewhere on here. There's a little baby there. This is a jalapeno and this is an Anaheim. You can plant your peppers close together. They will cross-pollinate, so future seeds will be a combination of the two more than likely. But for this year, the crops will be what they're supposed to be. As you can see, I've got a little bee bath, bird bath, bee bath in the top of this bed. The drip system actually feeds water into it, but I also clean it out every day. If I come out and hand water, I will hose it out so that we don't get a mosquito issue going on. More flowers on this side that will eventually, hopefully, bloom. Again, timing is everything. And then over here, yesterday we planted strawberries, and again, it's a timing issue. All these little crowns were planted yesterday. I have to keep this bed moist to protect those plants. And then as you'll see, I've got a hoop house built, which we'll do another video on. And I'm putting shade on this today because we're expecting very hot, very intense temperatures this week, like I said, and that'll help the plants get established. Anyway, whoop, and there's one more. Sorry. Spinning you around, sorry, don't get dizzy. Over here we have the berry bed. This one also has the same variety of strawberries. These are Albion Everbearing strawberries. And I'm just trying to fill this bed in more as a green mulch than to produce actual strawberries from it. And then we have two varieties of double cropping blueberries. Blueberries are iffy in Colorado because of how dry it is and the acidity of the soil and everything that's needed for these. So this bed is kind of designed specifically with a soil balance and nutrients that will help blueberries to thrive, because this bed's sole purpose really is the blueberries. The strawberries are kind of an added bonus. And then I've got some carrots tucked in the back that are coming up. All right, so that is it. That is the garden project. And I'm gonna see if I can't get you a little bit of a zoom process. As you can see, our backyard is not that large. We do have space for another bed here, and potentially another small bed here. But pretty much this is it. And I will go into some details in additional videos about why we do raised beds, why we're doing the layout the way we are, and some of the accommodations that we're making in order to keep me in the garden. All right, thank you.